How many players in the history of football can say that they didn't just play for the biggest club in the world, but changed forever the way a position is understood? How many can claim that after them, the role was never the same again? Very few. Countable. And one of them is Brazilian, Roberto Carlos. Roberto Carlos was not a left back. He was an anomaly, an exception turned into the norm, a player who emerged in an era when fullbacks defended and chose to attack, when fullbacks stayed back and he broke forward, when fullbacks supported and he led. He arrived at Real Madrid in 1996 with an impossible left foot, a massive physical presence, and a conviction that asked for no permission. He was born in Garça, in the interior of São Paulo, far from the noise, far from glamour, far from Europe. But the moment he set foot in Madrid, he quickly understood where he stood. Real Madrid does not wait for processes. It does not protect promises. It demands immediate impact. And Roberto Carlos made an impact from day one. 11 seasons, 11 years of constant demand, 527 official matches, 69 goals from a position where scoring 10 was already extraordinary, 13 titles, 3 Champions League trophies. But all of that is context. The true weight of his story lies in the time he lived through. Because while Roberto Carlos was tearing down the left flank of the Bernabeu, while he overlapped, smashed impossible free kicks, and left his lungs on every run forward, football itself was entering a new dimension. A dimension marked by 2 names that defined everything: Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Cristiano arrived at Real Madrid when Roberto Carlos was already an unquestioned reference, an emotional captain, a natural leader, and even so, from the very first training session, Roberto Carlos understood that this kid was coming to change something. Not because of what he did with the ball, but because of how he behaved without it. Cristiano trained differently. He breathed differently. He walked differently. Every drill was a competition, every repetition a battle. If training was light, he made it heavy. If the exercise ended, he kept going. If he won, he didn't smile. He thought about what he could improve. Many times Roberto Carlos watched him and kept asking himself the same question. Who is this guy competing against? And the answer was clear: against himself. Cristiano didn't need external rivals. He was his own limit. The goals started to arrive in absurd numbers. Seasons that shattered any historical logic. 50 goals, 55, 60, year after year. Records that lasted months, sometimes weeks. That doesn't exist, Roberto Carlos says. The all-time top scorer in a league scored 25, when this guy doubled that. And the most unsettling thing wasn't that he did it once. It was that he kept repeating it, without dropping his level, without relaxing, without excuses. Cristiano turned obsession into method. Sleep, eat, train, repeat. Everything was aligned. Everything had a purpose. That level of demand seeped into the locker room. He didn't need to speak. His mere presence raised the standard. If he trained like that, you couldn't train halfway. There was no room for comfort. Either you raised your level or you were exposed. But while Real Madrid lived alongside that machine of precision, on the other side of El Clásico, there was something completely different. Something that didn't shout. Something that didn't impose itself physically. Something that didn't need to prove anything. Lionel Messi. Roberto Carlos faced him several times. With Real Madrid, with the Brazilian national team, and every match against Messi was an experience unlike anything else he had ever lived. With Messi, there was no plan, he admits. You could study videos, prepare all week, talk in the tactical meeting, but on the pitch it was something else. The most disturbing thing wasn't the dribble. It wasn't the speed. It was time. Messi seemed to play at a different rhythm. He walked, he hid, he spent long stretches without touching the ball, and suddenly, with a single touch, he broke the entire match open. For a player as fast and powerful as Roberto Carlos, that was maddening. I started earlier, and still, I arrived late. Messi seemed to think one move ahead of everyone, sometimes two. When you decided to step in, he had already decided to leave. Roberto Carlos tried everything: anticipating, pressing, intimidating, kicking. With other players it worked. With Messi it didn't. Even touching him was dangerous. When you touched him, you woke him up. And waking him up was the worst thing that could happen. Messi didn't do unnecessary tricks. He didn't try to humiliate. He didn't provoke. He didn't shout. One touch, a change of pace, and that was it. He always found the exact space. He always got through. And he did it in silence. Without saying anything, without complaining, just playing. That's where the contrast that defined an entire era appears. Cristiano imposed presence. Messi imposed uncertainty. Cristiano attacked all the time. Messi chose when to attack. Cristiano was permanent intensity. Messi was lethal pause. For Roberto Carlos, living alongside that rivalry was not something abstract. You felt it during the week, in the locker room, in the body. He says that in the days leading up to the Clásicos, the atmosphere was different. Conversations were shorter, stares lasted longer. We knew it wasn't just another match, he recalls. We knew Messi was on the other side. There were nights when he mentally replayed Messi's movements, not out of fear, but out of responsibility. I knew that if I made one mistake, it was a goal. Messi didn't need volume. He didn't need continuity. He needed 1 second, a minimal space, a bad body angle. That created a particular tension for defenders. It wasn't fear of the physical clash. It was the feeling that you didn't control the match, even if you did everything right. You could mark him perfectly for 20 minutes, and in one play, he still beat you. With Cristiano, the feeling was different. Cristiano demanded everything from you all the time. He didn't let you rest. He pushed you. He forced you to stay focused for 90 minutes. It was a constant physical and mental war. And yet, there was something reassuring about that. Cristiano never hid. You knew he was going to go for it. You knew he was going to look for the goal. You knew he wasn't going to disappear. Messi, on the other hand, could disappear. And that was the worst part. Roberto Carlos remembers locker rooms after Clásicos, long silences, heavy legs, exhausted minds. We didn't talk much, he says. We were truly tired. Not just from running, but from thinking. Over time, he began to understand that this exhaustion wasn't random. Now, I know I was tired because I was playing against something unrepeatable. In Real Madrid's locker room, Messi's numbers were followed almost like a silent obsession. Messi scored 80, 90 goals in a year. Nobody does that. And still, Cristiano responded. The following year, he scored 60. It was one pushing the other without speaking, without crossing paths, without looking at each other. The rivalry wasn't marketing. You felt it. You breathed it. In every Clásico, in every week leading up to it, in every tactical talk. You knew you were going to play against Messi, and the tension started before stepping onto the pitch. There were matches where Messi disappeared for 20 minutes. He walked, he observed, and suddenly with a single ball, he changed everything. It felt like he was listening to another frequency. For a defender, that's a nightmare. Cristiano, on the other hand, attacked you constantly. He pushed you. He wore you down. You knew he was going to attack. And still, you couldn't stop him. With the years, Roberto Carlos understood that he was living something that would not be repeated. In the moment, you don't fully grasp it. You're focused on winning. Later, when you look back, you realize it was unique. When he's asked who is better, he doesn't answer like a fan. He answers like someone who was there. Cristiano is a perfect machine. He works on everything. He trains everything. But when he talks about Messi, his voice drops. Messi is impossible to read. That's the final difference. Cristiano pushes you to the maximum. Messi takes control away from you. I played against many monsters, Roberto Carlos says, but very few made me feel like I was always one step behind. Messi was one of them. That testimony weighs more than any statistic, because it doesn't come from the stands. It comes from the body, from tired legs, from the inevitable mistake, from the genius in front of you. Roberto Carlos was a legend, but even legends know how to recognize when they are facing something that escapes all logic. Cristiano Ronaldo was obsession turned into routine. Lionel Messi, the impossible dressed in simplicity. And Roberto Carlos was there, in the middle, seeing everything, living everything. That can't be told by any fan, only by someone who was on the pitch when football reached its highest point.